You find yourself walking through a forest at dusk. The air smells like pine and distant rain. Somewhere behind you, the sun has already set, but you didn't notice when. That's how it starts usually. The moment when day becomes night, the shift so gentle you miss it entirely. Like falling asleep during a movie you swore you'd finish. This is a story about sleep, or rather, about the spirits that live inside sleep, the forgotten ones, the legends that cultures whispered about for centuries before deciding they were too strange, too specific, too uncomfortably accurate to keep telling at dinner parties. Every culture has them. Beings that exist in that space between awake and asleep. Not quite gods, not quite monsters, just presences, watchers, guides, maybe, if you're feeling generous. Annoyances, if you're being honest. The thing about sleep spirits is that they never asked to be forgotten. They just were, replaced by alarm clocks and melatonin supplements and white noise machines that sound like the ocean but not really. Still, they're there, waiting in the corners of bedrooms across the world, patient, persistent, slightly judgmental about your sleep schedule. Let's meet them, shall we? But slowly, there's no rush. We have all night. Part 1. The ones who watch the Sandman's disappointing cousin. You're lying in bed in a small village somewhere in northern Germany circa 1820. The room smells like old wood and candle wax that burned out hours ago. Your pillow is filled with straw and it crinkles every time you move, which is often because you can't sleep. Again, there's a presence in the room. You can feel it near the window. Not threatening. Exactly. Just there. Observing your failure to lose consciousness with what you imagine is mild disappointment. This isn't the Sandman. Everyone knows the Sandman. He's famous. He brings sleep dust and pleasant dreams and has somehow maintained an excellent public relations image for centuries. No, this is his cousin. The one nobody talks about. The one who shows up when the Sandman is busy or on vacation, or simply can't be bothered. His name, roughly translated, means the one who waits by bedsides, which is accurate but not particularly catchy. Marketing was never his strength. He doesn't bring sleep dust. He brings something less tangible, a kind of gentle pressure behind your eyes, a subtle heaviness in your limbs, the suggestion that staying awake might require more effort than it's worth. He's not forcing anything. Just making a case, presenting evidence, like a very patient lawyer arguing for the benefits of unconsciousness. You've been lying here for 2 hours, your mind keeps cycling through the same thoughts. Did you lock the door? Is that noise outside a wolf? Why did you say that thing to the baker's wife 3 weeks ago? These are the concerns that fill the space where sleep should be. The presence by the window shifts slightly. You sense a kind of ethereal sigh. He's dealt with this before, 1,000 times, 10,000. The human inability to simply stop thinking and surrender to darkness is, from his perspective, both fascinating and exhausting. He's been doing this job for centuries, long before he had a name, back when he was just a feeling that people attributed to various herbs or the position of the moon. He's watched humans develop increasingly elaborate theories about sleep, humours and vapours and animal magnetism and brainwaves, all of it true, in a way, none of it complete. The thing about sleep, he knows, is that it's fundamentally an act of trust. You have to trust that you'll wake up again, that the world will still be there, that 8 hours from now you'll return to yourself relatively intact. Most people never think about this consciously, but their bodies know, their minds know, and sometimes that knowledge makes them hesitate at the edge of sleep like someone standing at the lip of a dark pool. Just close your eyes, he thinks in your direction. Not words exactly, just a concept, an invitation. You don't close your eyes. You're busy calculating how many hours of sleep you can still get if you fall asleep right now, which is, of course, counterproductive. The Sandman's cousin knows this. He's seen this particular miscalculation countless times. It's like watching someone try to force a laugh. The effort defeats the purpose. He settles in for a long night. He's good at waiting. He has literally nothing else to do. An hour passes, then another. Your thoughts begin to slow down finally, not because of any magic or intervention, but simply because your brain is running out of fuel. The concerns about wolves and locked doors start to feel distant, abstract, like they belong to someone else. The presence near the window seems to nod slightly, though he has no head to nod with. This is progress. This is the beginning of the end of wakefulness. Your breathing changes rhythm. deeper, slower. Your body temperature drops by a fraction of a degree. Small adjustments. Preparations. Your consciousness begins to flicker like a candle in a gentle breeze, and then finally you sleep. The Sandman's cousin remains by the window for a few minutes longer, not because he needs to, just because this is his favourite part, the moment when resistance becomes surrender, when the human finally gratefully lets go. Then he moves on to the next bedroom, the next person lying awake, mind racing, calculating hours, negotiating with their own exhaustion. The work never ends. Someone is always awake somewhere. It's not a glamorous job. There are no songs about him, no bedtime stories. Children don't whisper his name with excitement or dread. He's just a presence, a helper, the understated assistant to a more famous figure. But he doesn't mind. Fame seems exhausting. He prefers the quiet, the dark. The steady rhythm of breath becoming sleep, becoming dreams. This is enough. This has always been enough. You don't remember him in the morning. No one ever does. That's fine too. Gratitude was never the point. The night visitor who judges your choices. There's a spirit in Japanese folklore called the Makurageishi. The name means pillow flipper, which sounds almost playful, whimsical even, like something a mischievous child might do at a sleepover. The reality is slightly less charming. You're sleeping in a traditional Japanese home. Tatami mats under you, a thin futon, the kind of sleeping arrangement that tourists call authentic and locals call normal. Your head rests on a wooden pillow, because apparently that's a thing. Comfort is relative. Your neck disagrees. Sometime in the deepest part of night, the Makurageishi arrives. You don't wake up, most people don't, but in the morning you discover that your pillow has moved. It's now at your feet, or across the room, or balanced inexplicably on a shelf. Your futon might be rotated. You might be rotated. Somehow you've been turned completely around without waking. Your head is where your feet should be. Your feet point toward the door. This seems impossible. It probably is impossible. Yet here you are, rearranged. The Makurageishi does this. Why? No one knows. Theories vary. Some say it's a test. Others say it's a prank. A few suggest it's meant to confuse evil spirits that might try to find you in the night. If you're in a different position, the reasoning goes they won't recognize you. This assumes evil spirits are not particularly bright, which may be fair, but here's the interesting part. The Makurageishi seems to have preferences, criteria. Not everyone gets visited. The spirit appears to choose its targets with some kind of internal logic that no one has quite decoded. Some researchers of folklore suggest it visits people who sleep too comfortably, too soundly, as if deep, untroubled sleep is somehow suspicious, something that should be investigated, disrupted just a little. A reminder that rest should be earned, perhaps, or at least not taken for granted. Others say it prefers travellers, people sleeping away from home, as if the spirit is checking their credentials, making sure they belong, testing their commitment to sleep in this particular place at this particular time. You wake up with your pillow at your feet and no memory of movement. Your neck feels fine somehow, better than it did with the wooden pillow. Honestly, maybe the Makurageishi did you a favour, or maybe it's laughing at you from somewhere in the walls. Both can be true. The spirit has been doing this for centuries, long before anyone wrote down its name or tried to explain its behaviour. It was just something that happened. A small, strange occurrence in the larger strangeness of sleep. People woke up rearranged and shrugged and went about their day. No harm done. Just another reminder that sleep is not entirely under your control. That's the thing about sleep spirits. They're not trying to scare you mostly. They're just asserting a kind of jurisdiction. Sleep is their territory. You're a visitor, a guest, and guests wake up where the host decides to put them. The Makurageishi never speaks, never shows itself, just moves things in the dark. Pillows and bodies and the invisible boundaries of comfort, a gentle chaos, a minor haunting, the kind you might complain about but secretly find interesting. Because here's the truth, part of you likes knowing something visited in the night. Something noticed you, cared enough in its strange way to rearrange your sleeping situation. It's attention. Odd attention, sure, but attention nonetheless. Better than sleeping alone in an indifferent universe. Better than waking up exactly where you fell asleep, unchanged, unnoticed, unremarkable. At least that's one way to think about it. The Makura Geishi probably has a different perspective, but it's not talking. The dream inspector from somewhere cold. In Scandinavian folklore, there's a figure called the Mara, sometimes mare. The word is where we get nightmare from, actually. Which should tell you something about her reputation. She visits at night, always at night. She sits on your chest while you sleep, not metaphorically, literally, or as literally as a spirit can manage. You feel the weight of her, the pressure, your lungs struggle, your breath becomes shallow, laboured. You try to wake up but can't. You're pinned, paralysed, aware but unable to move. This is sleep paralysis, of course. We have a medical term for it now, a neurological explanation. During REM sleep, your body paralyses itself to prevent you from acting out dreams. Sometimes you wake up before the paralysis lifts. You're conscious but motionless. Your brain, confused, often populates the darkness with presences, figures, threats. But long before doctors explained it, people knew the Mara. She was the reason, the cause. The thing that sat on chests and stole breath and left you gasping when you finally woke. You're sleeping in a small cottage somewhere in Sweden, maybe 300 years ago. The room is cold. It's always cold. The fire died hours ago and no one will relight it until morning. You're buried under furs and wool blankets trying to conserve body heat. Outside, snow falls in that peculiar silent way that makes the world feel abandoned. Sometime after midnight, the Mara arrives. You feel her before you see her, a weight on your chest, sudden, impossible. You try to sit up but can't. Your arms won't respond. Your legs are dead weight. Only your eyes work, moving frantically in the dark, searching for the source of this pressure. And there she is, sitting on you, a figure made of shadow and suggestion. You can't quite see her features. The darkness won't allow it. But you sense her attention. She's observing you, studying your distress with what might be curiosity or might be hunger. It's hard to tell. Your breath comes in short, desperate gasps. The weight increases. You think you might suffocate. You think this might be how it ends, crushed by a spirit in a cold room while snow falls outside. Not the worst death, historically speaking, but not ideal. Why are you afraid? The question forms in your mind, though she hasn't spoken. Maybe it's your own thought. Maybe it's hers. The boundary between the two is unclear. You want to answer that you're afraid because she's sitting on your chest and you can't breathe. This seems obvious. But the fear is older than that, deeper. It's the fear of helplessness, of being aware but unable to act. Of consciousness without agency. This is what the Mara feeds on, supposedly. Not breath, exactly. But the panic of someone who can't breathe. The terror of paralysis. She shifts her weight slightly. The pressure lessens. You gasp, grateful for the small mercy. Your lungs fill with cold air. The Mara has been doing this since people started sleeping. Before houses, before cottages, before beds. Just humans lying on the ground, vulnerable, and the Mara finding them in the dark. She's patient, persistent. She has all the time in the world because she exists outside of time, in that space where sleep and waking overlap. Some stories say she enters through keyholes, others say she seeps through cracks in walls. A few claim she can pass through solid wood if she wants to badly enough. The method doesn't matter, the arrival is what matters. The weight, the paralysis, the moment when you're trapped between states, neither fully asleep nor fully awake. Sleep, she suggests. Not words exactly, just a pressure, a command. Your body wants to obey. Sleep would make this stop. Sleep would take you away from this awareness, this terrible consciousness of your own helplessness. But you can't sleep. Not with her there. Not with the weight and the fear and the frantic beating of your heart. So you're stuck, caught, suspended in this awful in-between. Minutes pass. They feel like hours. Your perception of time is broken. Maybe it's been seconds. Maybe it's been half the night. You have no way to know. And then, finally, she stands. The weight lifts. You can breathe again. Your arms and legs suddenly remember how to move. You sit up, gasping, heart racing, drenched in sweat despite the cold. The room is empty, or appears empty. The darkness is just darkness now. No presence, no weight, no watcher. You lie back down, eventually. What else can you do? But you don't sleep. Not really. You hover near sleep, afraid to cross the threshold again, afraid she might return. She doesn't. The Mara rarely visits the same person twice in one night. She has others to see, other chests to sit on, other lungs to compress. The work is endless. Someone is always sleeping. Someone is always vulnerable. In the morning you tell your family what happened. They nod. They know about the Mara. Everyone knows about the Mara. Some suggest you slept on your back. Others say you ate too late. A few mention iron under the pillow or prayers said in a specific order. These are the protections people have developed. Whether they work is debatable. The Mara doesn't seem particularly deterred by iron or prayers. She does what she does. You go about your day. But that night, lying down to sleep again, you hesitate, just for a moment, wondering if she'll return, wondering if that weight will press down again, if those lungs will struggle, if that helplessness will swallow you whole. She doesn't come back. Not that night. Maybe never again. Or maybe next week. The Mara keeps her own schedule, her own logic. You can't predict her. You can only wait and breathe and be grateful for the nights when your chest remains unburdened. The medical explanation doesn't make it less frightening somehow. Knowing it's just neurons and REM cycles doesn't change the experience. The weight still feels real. The paralysis still pins you. The fear still floods through you. Maybe that's why the Mara persists in folklore, because even when we know the mechanism, we still need a name for the experience, a face for the fear, something to blame that isn't just our own misfiring biology. The Mara is that name, that face, that blame. She sits on chests across centuries, across cultures, across the endless nights of human sleep. Patient, persistent, unbothered by science or skepticism. She knows what she knows. She does what she does. And somewhere, right now, someone is waking up breathless, having felt her weight, wondering if it was real. It was. It wasn't. Both. Neither. The Mara doesn't care about your definitions. She'll be back tomorrow, or next week, or never. She keeps her own schedule. All you can do is breathe, and sleep, and hope your chest remains yours alone. Part 2. The ones who guide the walker between worlds. There's a spirit in some Native American traditions called the Dream Walker. The name varies by tribe, by region, by the specific worldview of the people telling the story, but the function is consistent. This spirit walks the space between sleeping and waking, not to harm, not to judge, just to walk, to observe, to sometimes guide, if guidance is needed. You're sleeping under open sky, stars above, fire dying nearby. The ground is hard beneath you, but you've grown used to hard ground. Comfort is a negotiation with the earth, and tonight the earth is winning. Still, you sleep. Because you always sleep, eventually. The body insists. The dreamwalker arrives without sound. There's no weight, no pressure, no sudden awareness. Just a gradual sense that you're not alone in your dream. Someone else is here, walking beside you through landscapes that make no sense but feel true. You're in a forest that's also a river that's also your childhood home. Dream logic. Everything is everything else. The dreamwalker nods, acknowledging this. They understand dream logic better than you do. They've been walking through it for longer than your people have had words for dreaming. They don't speak, not in the way you're used to. But you understand them anyway. Concepts arrive in your mind fully formed. Questions without words. Observations without language. Why are you here, you ask, or think you ask. The distinction is unclear. They gesture to the dream around you, the shifting forest river home. This is my path, they explain without explaining. I walk where dreams happen. This makes sense somehow. Everything makes sense in dreams until you wake up. Then it all falls apart. But right now, standing in this impossible place with this impossible presence, it's perfectly logical that someone would walk through dreams. Of course they would. Dreams need tending. Dreams need witnesses. Otherwise they're just neural static, random firings, chemical accidents. The dreamwalker is what makes them matter, what makes them mean something. At least that's one interpretation. You'll think of several others when you wake. None will satisfy you completely. You walk together through your dream. The dreamwalker points out things you hadn't noticed, a door you missed, a path you overlooked, choices you didn't know you were making. Dreams are full of choices, they suggest. Most people don't realize. They think dreams just happen to them. But you're always choosing, always deciding what to notice, where to go, when to wake. This is news to you. You've never felt in control of your dreams. They've always felt like movies you're watching, or storms you're caught in. The idea that you're directing them, even unconsciously, is unsettling. It implies responsibility, agency, the possibility of doing it wrong. The dreamwalker seems amused by this concern, though they have no face to express amusement with. Or maybe they do. Their appearance keeps changing. Sometimes human, sometimes animal, sometimes just a shape in the corner of your vision. Something that draws the eye but refuses to be seen clearly. You can't do it wrong, they assure you. There's no wrong way to dream. This is comforting and frustrating in equal measure. You'd like some guidelines, some rules. A manual for dreaming that explains what everything means and how to navigate it successfully. But the dreamwalker doesn't offer instructions, just presence, just companionship through the strange. You reach a clearing in the forest river home. The dream changes texture here, becomes more solid, more real. You're standing in front of a house you've never seen but somehow recognize. The door is open. Inside, darkness. Complete. The kind of dark that swallows light and gives nothing back. Do I go in? You ask. The dreamwalker shrugs, or the equivalent of a shrug. Do you want to? You don't know. The darkness is frightening but also compelling. Curiosity pulls at you. Fear pushes you back. You stand at the threshold, suspended between wanting and not wanting. Most people stop here, the dreamwalker observes. Most people turn around. This annoys you somehow, the implication that you're like most people, that your fear is predictable, common. You take a step forward, into the house, into the darkness. The dreamwalker nods approvingly, or you think they do. It's hard to tell, they're behind you now, or beside you, or everywhere. Their position is negotiable. Inside the house, the darkness isn't as complete as you thought. There's light somewhere, dim, distant, coming from a room you can't quite locate. You walk toward it. The dreamwalker walks with you. Or they're already there, waiting. Or they've been there the whole time and you're just now arriving. Time is flexible here. Cause and effect are suggestions. The light comes from a window. You look through it. Outside is your current life, your actual life. You can see yourself sleeping, see your body lying still. Breathing slow, it's disorienting. You're here and there simultaneously, inside and outside the dream, both and neither. This is what I do, the dreamwalker says, or you think they say. I show people themselves sleeping. Most find it disturbing. You do find it disturbing. But also fascinating. There's something profound about seeing yourself from outside yourself, about witnessing your own vulnerability, your own trust in the process of sleep. That body lying there has no idea you're watching, has no control over this moment. It just sleeps, just breathes, just exists in temporary suspension. Why show me this, you ask. The dreamwalker considers. Why not? This is not particularly helpful, but it might be honest. Maybe the dreamwalker doesn't have reasons. Maybe they just walk and observe and sometimes pull people aside to show them things. Maybe there's no grand plan, no lesson, no meaning beyond the experience itself. You watch yourself sleep for a while longer. It's peaceful from this perspective. All the worries and fears and urgencies of waking life are absent. That sleeping body doesn't care about any of it. It's just a body, just a biological system doing its thing, repairing cells, consolidating memories, cycling through phases of consciousness like the moon cycles through phases of light. Simple, uncomplicated, just being. I should go back, you say, though you're not sure how to go back. You're not sure where you are exactly. The dream has become recursive, nested, dreams within observation of dreaming. The dreamwalker nods. You were always back, they point out. You never left. This is simultaneously true and unhelpful. You're about to ask for clarification when you wake up. Your eyes open. The stars are still above you. The fire is almost out. Your body aches in new and interesting ways from sleeping on hard ground. Everything is exactly as it was before you fell asleep, except you. You're different somehow, changed by the walk, by the conversation, by seeing yourself from outside. The dreamwalker is gone. Of course. They were never really there. Just a dream. Just neurons and chemistry and the brain entertaining itself during downtime, but the memory persists. The feeling of being accompanied, of walking with someone who understood the landscape better than you did, of being shown something important, even if you can't articulate what it was. You'll try to remember the details in the morning. Most will fade. Dreams do that. They evaporate in daylight. But the essence remains. The feeling of having been guided, of having walked a path you couldn't have found alone. The dreamwalker returns to wherever dreamwalkers go between visits, the space between sleeping and waking, the paths that connect one dream to another, the territory that belongs to no one and everyone. They don't keep track of who they've visited. They don't maintain records or favourites. They just walk. That's the job. That's the function. Walking through dreams, occasionally pulling someone aside, showing them something they might not see otherwise. It's not dramatic work. No one writes songs about it. But it matters. The dreamwalker knows it matters. Every journey matters to the person taking it. Every moment of guidance, however brief, however cryptic, leaves a mark. They walk on, through your dream and 1,000 others, patient, persistent, endlessly travelling through the sleep of the world. Someone is always dreaming. Someone is always walking. The dreamwalker makes sure those someone sometimes meet. The keeper of thresholds. In Irish folklore, there's a figure that stands at doorways, not physical doorways necessarily, though sometimes those too, mainly the doorways between states, between sleeping and waking, between dreaming and thinking, between the world you know and the world you're about to enter. This figure doesn't have a consistent name. Sometimes it's called a gatekeeper, sometimes a guardian, sometimes just the one who stands. The name matters less than the function. This spirit maintains boundaries, decides who passes and who doesn't, who's ready and who needs to wait. You're falling asleep in a small cottage in rural Ireland, maybe 200 years ago. The air smells like peat smoke and damp wool. Your bed is more straw than mattress. Comfort is theoretical, but you're tired enough that comfort doesn't matter. Your eyes close, your breathing slows, you begin the descent into sleep, and there, at the threshold, the keeper waits. You don't see them. Not exactly, but you sense them, a presence at the edge of your awareness, standing in the doorway between wake and sleep, not blocking it, just standing, observing, assessing. Are you ready? They ask without asking. The question forms in your mind like condensation on glass, gradual, inevitable. Ready for what? Sleep? Dreams? The temporary death of consciousness that happens every night? You don't know how to answer. You're just tired. You just want to rest. Readiness doesn't factor into it. The keeper seems to consider this. Your exhaustion. Your need. The way your body is already shutting down. Systems powering off one by one. Heart rate slowing. Temperature dropping. Consciousness dimming. Very well, they decide. You may pass. You weren't aware you needed permission. But apparently you did. Apparently sleep is not automatic. There's a gate. There's a keeper. There's a moment of evaluation before you're allowed through. This should be concerning. The idea that every night you're judged, assessed, approved or rejected by some presence you can't see or understand. But you're too tired to be concerned. You just want to sleep. If there's a gatekeeper, fine. As long as they let you through, they do. They step aside, the doorway opens. You fall through it into darkness, into dreams, into the deep unconsciousness of real sleep. The keeper remains at the threshold. They're always there, every night, every person, every transition from wake to sleep. It's their job, their purpose. They've been doing it since humans first learned to sleep, since consciousness first discovered it could shut itself off temporarily and return later, mostly intact. Not everyone passes. Sometimes the keeper says no, not tonight, not yet, you're not ready. And those people lie awake. They hover at the threshold, aware of the doorway but unable to cross it. They count sheep or ceiling tiles or breaths. They negotiate with their own exhaustion. They wait for the keeper to change their mind. Sometimes the keeper does. After an hour, 2 hours, 3, they reassess. The person is more ready now. More desperate, more willing to surrender. The gate opens. Sleep arrives. Sometimes it doesn't. The keeper stands firm. The person remains awake until morning, exhausted, frustrated, resentful of a doorway they can see but can't enter. No one knows what criteria the keeper uses. What makes someone ready or not ready? The folklore doesn't explain. Maybe it's about safety. Maybe some nights sleep would be dangerous, dreams would be harmful. It's better to stay awake, stay alert, stay in the world you know. Or maybe it's random, arbitrary. The keeper just making decisions based on nothing but whim. That would be frustrating, but also very on brand for folklore spirits. They don't owe you explanations. They don't have to make sense. They just are. You sleep through the night without incident. The keeper let you pass and then ignored you. No dreams worth mentioning, no disturbances, just the blank emptiness of deep sleep, the temporary absence of self. In the morning you wake naturally. The sun is coming through the small window. The peat fire needs relighting. Your body aches in the usual ways. You don't remember the keeper, don't remember the moment of being assessed. It's just gone, filed away in the part of your brain that handles things you don't need to know you know. But the keeper remembers. They remember every person who passes, every assessment, every night. They keep records in whatever way spirits keep records. Memory, maybe, or something like it. An archive of human sleep, billions of entries, endless data about who was ready and who wasn't, who passed through easily and who struggled at the threshold. They don't judge, not morally. They're not concerned with whether you're a good person or a bad person, just whether you're ready for sleep, ready to let go, ready to trust the process of temporary death and resurrection that happens every night. That's harder than it sounds. Letting go, trusting. Your brain doesn't want to shut off. It's suspicious of unconsciousness. It worries that something important might happen while you're gone, that you'll miss something, that you'll be vulnerable. The keeper understands this. They've seen it countless times. The hesitation, the resistance, the way people cling to consciousness even when they're desperate to release it. It's safe. They assure every person at every threshold. You can cross. You can sleep. You'll come back. Most believe them. Most pass through. A few don't. A few stay on the waking side of the doorway, paralyzed by mistrust or anxiety, or the conviction that sleep is a trap they shouldn't fall into. The keeper lets them stay, doesn't force them through. That's not their role. They guard the threshold, but they don't drag people across it. Free will matters, even in sleep, especially in sleep. Tonight you'll return to that threshold. The keeper will be there. They're always there. You'll pass through without noticing, without awareness, without gratitude or recognition. The keeper doesn't mind. Recognition was never the point. The gate is the point, the doorway, the moment of transition. That's what they protect. That's what they maintain. Human sleep depends on it, on this invisible presence standing at the edge of consciousness, letting people through, turning people away, maintaining the boundary between states. You'll never know their name, never see their face, never consciously interact with them in any way, but every night you'll meet them. Every night you'll be assessed. Every night they'll decide you're ready and let you pass. And you'll sleep and wake and never think about the guardian who made it possible. That's fine. That's how it should be. The best gatekeepers are invisible. The best thresholds are the ones you cross without noticing. Sleep is a doorway. The keeper stands beside it. You pass through. It works. It's always worked. Until the night it doesn't. Until the night the keeper says no. Not yet. Not tonight. Then you'll lie awake, aware of the threshold but unable to cross it, wondering what changed, why tonight is different, what made you unready. The keeper won't answer. They never do. They just stand there, patient, firm, waiting for the moment when you're ready enough, desperate enough, surrendered enough. That moment will come. It always does, and then you'll sleep, and the keeper will step aside, and the doorway will close behind you until tomorrow night, when you'll return, when they'll be waiting, when the assessment will happen again, every night, every person, every threshold. The keeper stands, the doorway opens, the sleeper passes through. It's simple, it's ancient, it's happening right now, somewhere, to someone falling asleep. The keeper is there, they're always there, standing at the edge of consciousness, guarding the gate, letting you through, or not. Depending on the night, depending on you, depending on variables you don't understand and never will. Sleep well, if the keeper allows it, if the doorway opens, if you're ready. You probably are, you usually are. The keeper usually says yes, but not always. And that's the thing about thresholds. You can't take them for granted. You can't assume passage, you can only approach and hope. And trust that the one who guards the gate will let you through. Most nights they do. Most nights you sleep. Most nights the threshold is just a threshold, barely noticed, quickly crossed, but sometimes, rarely, inexplicably, the keeper says no, and you stay awake, and you wonder, and you wait for a permission you didn't know you needed. Part 3. The ones who test the spirit of uncomfortable truths. In some African folk traditions, there's a spirit that visits sleepers to show them things they don't want to see. Not frightening things necessarily, just true things. Uncomfortable truths about themselves or their lives or the choices they've made, the kind of truth that's easier to avoid during waking hours. This spirit doesn't have a name everyone agrees on. Names vary by region, by language, by the specific cultural context. But the function is consistent. This is the spirit that makes you dream about things you've been ignoring. The spirit that surfaces what you've buried. You're sleeping in a village somewhere in West Africa. The air is warm even at night. Humid. The kind of warmth that makes sleeping feel like swimming through something thicker than air. Your mat is on the floor. The walls are thin. You can hear your neighbours sleeping, breathing, living their lives in quiet parallel to yours. The spirit arrives without announcement. You're dreaming about something ordinary, something safe. A market day maybe, buying vegetables, talking to friends, the normal texture of life. And then the spirit touches the dream, redirects it. Suddenly you're not in the market anymore. You're standing in front of someone you wronged, someone you hurt, someone you've been avoiding thinking about because thinking about them requires acknowledging what you did. They look at you. They don't speak. They don't need to. Their presence says everything. You want to wake up. You want to leave this dream. You want to be anywhere but here, facing this person, feeling this guilt. But the spirit won't let you wake. Not yet. Not until you've seen what needs to be seen. Why did you do it? The person asks. Or maybe you ask yourself. The distinction is unclear. Dreams blur the boundaries between self and other, between your voice and everyone else's. You don't have a good answer. You had reasons at the time, justifications. But here, in the dream, under the spirit's influence, those reasons feel thin, inadequate, the kind of thing you tell yourself to sleep at night. Which is ironic given that sleep is where you're being confronted with their insufficiency. The person waits for your answer. The spirit waits. The dream holds still, suspended, giving you space to respond. But you have nothing. No explanation that satisfies. No defense that holds. I'm sorry, you finally say. It's not enough. You both know it's not enough, but it's what you have. The person nods. They don't forgive you. They don't condemn you. They just acknowledge the apology and then fade. The dream shifts. You're somewhere else now. Another uncomfortable truth. Another thing you've been avoiding. This time it's not a person. It's a choice you didn't make. An opportunity you let pass. A moment when you could have acted but didn't. The dream shows you what might have happened if you'd been braver, more decisive, less afraid. It's not necessarily better than your actual life, just different, possible. A path you could have walked but didn't. The spirit makes you look at it, makes you feel the weight of that unmade choice. Do you regret it, the spirit asks, or you ask yourself? Or the dream asks all of you collectively? You don't know. Regret is complicated. You can regret something without wishing you'd done differently. You can mourn a path not taken while still believing you chose correctly. Humans contain multitudes, even in sleep. The spirit seems satisfied with your confusion, or at least not dissatisfied. They're not here to provide answers, just to ask questions, to surface what's been submerged, to make you look at what you've been avoiding. The dream continues. More truths, more uncomfortable recognitions, a relationship you neglected, an ambition you abandoned, a promise you broke. The spirit has a list, apparently, a whole catalogue of things you don't want to think about. You endure it. What choice do you have? You can't wake up. The spirit controls the dream. You're a passenger in your own unconscious, a witness to your own failures and regrets and compromises. It's exhausting, emotionally draining in a way that physical exhaustion never is. You want it to stop. You want to return to the safe dream about buying vegetables. You want the spirit to leave you alone. Eventually they do. The dream releases you. You sink into deeper sleep. The kind without images or narratives, just blank unconsciousness, pure rest, but the memory remains. When you wake in the morning, you remember the dream, remember the person you wronged, the choice you didn't make, all the uncomfortable truths the spirit showed you. You could ignore them, dismiss it as just a dream, just neurons firing randomly, but you don't, because part of you knows the spirit was right. Part of you needed to see those things, to be confronted with your own avoidance. That's the spirit's purpose. Not to punish, not to judge, just to show, to reflect, to make sure that what you've buried doesn't stay buried forever, to surface the truths that need air even if they're uncomfortable, especially if they're uncomfortable. The spirit visits people throughout their lives, not every night, not even every year. Just when needed, when the burial has gone on too long, when the avoidance has become unsustainable, when the truth needs to be seen, acknowledged, integrated. It's not pleasant. No one enjoys these visits, but they're necessary. Like lancing a wound, like draining an infection. Painful in the moment, but healthy in the long term. You go about your day. The uncomfortable truths follow you. They're quieter now, less insistent, but present. A low hum of recognition, a reminder that you have work to do, conversations to have, apologies to make, choices to reconsider. Maybe you'll do that work. Maybe you won't. The spirit can't force you to act. They can only make you see. What you do with the seeing is up to you, but you've seen now. You can't unsee. That's the point. That's the gift, if you can call it a gift. The spirit has given you vision, uncomfortable, unwanted vision, but vision nonetheless. Tonight you'll sleep without the spirit. They've done their work. They've moved on to someone else who needs to see their own buried truths, someone else who's been avoiding something important. The spirit is patient. They have time. They've been doing this for centuries, longer, since humans first started burying things they didn't want to face, since consciousness first learned to look away. The spirit makes them look back, makes them see, makes them carry the uncomfortable weight of truth. It's not mercy, it's not cruelty, it's just maintenance. The necessary work of keeping humans honest with themselves, of preventing the burial from becoming permanent. You'll see the spirit again, maybe next year, maybe in 10 years. Whenever you've buried enough that seeing becomes necessary again, they'll return, they'll show you, you'll endure it, you'll wake up changed slightly, more honest, more aware, until you forget again, until you start burying again, until the spirit returns to dig it all up. It's a cycle, it's been a cycle forever. The spirit digs, humans bury, the spirit digs again, on and on, endless excavation of the self, uncomfortable, necessary, true. The spirit knows this. You know this somewhere deep, in the part of you that's still honest, still aware, still willing to look at what you'd rather avoid. That part grows smaller over time. The spirit keeps it alive, keeps it active, keeps reminding you that seeing is important, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Sleep well, or don't. The spirit doesn't care about comfort, only truth. Only the necessary work of honest vision. They'll see you when they see you, when you need them, when the burial has gone on long enough. Until then you're free, to avoid, to ignore, to look away, to sleep peacefully, unburdened by uncomfortable truth. But not forever, never forever. The spirit is patient, but they always return. And when they do, you'll see, you'll remember, you'll carry the weight of what you've been avoiding. It's not punishment. It's just the cost of consciousness, of being a creature that can hide from itself but never completely, never permanently. The spirit makes sure of that. They're the mirror you can't avoid forever, the truth that surfaces despite your best efforts at burial. They'll be back, they're always back, standing at the edge of your dreams, waiting to show you yourself, ready or not. Comfortable or not, willing or not, the spirit shows you anyway. That's their job, that's their gift. That's their burden and yours. See, remember, acknowledge, act or don't act, but see. Always see. The spirit insists, and in sleep you have no choice but to comply. The one who asks impossible questions. In some Eastern European folklore, there's a spirit that appears in dreams to pose questions. Not riddles exactly, just questions, impossible questions. The kind that have no right answer, no clear solution, just complexity and ambiguity, and the uncomfortable weight of not knowing. The spirit's name translates roughly to the asker, which is accurate if uninspired. They ask, that's what they do, that's their entire function. They arrive in dreams, pose impossible questions, and then wait for your answer with what seems like infinite patience. You're sleeping in a small room somewhere in rural Poland, maybe 150 years ago. The walls are whitewashed, the bed is hard, the night is quiet in the way nights used to be quiet, before electricity and traffic and the constant ambient noise of modern life. Just silence, deep, complete. You're dreaming about something mundane, your daily life probably, the repetitive texture of existence, work, food, sleep, the same cycle endlessly repeating. And then the asker arrives. They manifest as a figure at the edge of your dream, not threatening, not even particularly interesting, just there, present, waiting for the right moment to interrupt your mundane dream with their impossible question. The moment arrives, the dream shifts, you're standing in an empty field. The asker stands across from you. You can't quite see their face. The details keep changing. Old, then young, then neither. Male, then female, then something else. The specifics don't matter. Only the question matters. If you could save one person but it meant losing two others, would you, they ask. Not as an abstract philosophical exercise, as a real choice, a genuine dilemma. The dream makes it feel immediate, urgent, like you have to decide right now and the answer matters. You hesitate, the question is impossible. You need more information. Which person would you save? Which two would you lose? What are the circumstances? The variables? The consequences? The asker doesn't provide details. Just answer, they say. One or two. Choose. You don't want to choose. The question is designed to be unanswerable. A trolley problem with no track switch. A moral calculus that refuses to calculate cleanly. But the asker waits. The dream holds. You have to answer something. I don't know, you finally say, which is honest but feels like cowardice. Like you failed some test you didn't know you were taking. The asker nods. Not disappointed. Not satisfied. Just acknowledging your answer. Why don't you know, they ask. This is somehow worse than the first question. You have to explain your uncertainty, justify your inability to choose, put words to the feeling of being trapped between impossible options. Because either choice is wrong, you say. Either choice means loss. There's no good answer. Is there a less bad answer? The asker pushes. You think about it. Try to weigh one life against two. Try to do the math. But the math refuses to work. Lives aren't numbers. Loss isn't arithmetic. You can't calculate your way to a correct answer because correctness doesn't exist here. Only choice. Only the awful weight of decision. Maybe, you say. I don't know. It depends. On what? On everything. On things I don't know. On variables I can't see. The asker seems satisfied with this, or at least done with this particular question. The dream shifts again. You're somewhere else now. A different empty field. A different impossible dilemma. If you knew that being kind to someone today would lead to cruelty tomorrow, would you still be kind, they ask. Another impossible question. Another moral trap. You can't know future consequences. You can only act on present information. But the asker has removed that uncertainty. In this hypothetical, you see the full causal chain. Kindness leads to cruelty. Does that change the calculus? I don't know, you say again. It's becoming a refrain. The only honest answer to impossible questions is uncertainty. Would the cruelty be yours or someone else's? The asker asks. Does that matter? Does it? You realize you're being Socratically interrogated by a dream spirit. This feels unfair. You're asleep. Your critical thinking is compromised. You're operating on dream logic and emotional intuition. This is not the time for philosophical examination. The asker doesn't care. They continue. Question after question. Each one impossible. Each one designed to highlight the complexity of moral choice, the inadequacy of simple answers, the way certainty collapses under scrutiny. If you could forget something painful but it meant losing the growth that came from it, would you? If happiness required ignorance, would you choose happiness? If you could help everyone a little or one person a lot, which would you choose? On and on. Endless variations of impossible choice. The dream becomes a seminar in moral ambiguity, a masterclass in not knowing. The asker asks, you stumble through answers, the cycle continues. Eventually you're exhausted, not physically, mentally, emotionally. The constant weight of impossible questions wears you down. You want simple answers, easy choices, clear right and wrong, but the asker refuses to provide them. Why are you doing this, you finally ask? Not an answer to their question, a question of your own. A small rebellion against the format. The asker pauses, considers. Because certainty is dangerous, they say. Because people forget that most questions don't have answers, only choices. Only consequences. So you torture people with impossible questions. I make people think about impossible questions. The torture is optional. This feels like sophistry. But you're too tired to argue. You just want the dream to end. You want to wake up. You want to escape the asker and their endless interrogation. As if sensing your exhaustion, the asker steps back. One more, they say. Last one. You brace yourself. Wait for the final impossible question, the ultimate moral dilemma. Do you want to keep sleeping or would you rather wake up? You laugh. Or try to. It comes out strange in the dream. That's not an impossible question. I want to wake up. Are you sure? Sleep is easier. In sleep, you don't have to make real choices. Don't have to live with real consequences. Wouldn't that be better? And suddenly it is an impossible question. Because yes, sleep is easier. Dreams are simpler than life. Even when they're filled with impossible questions, they're still less demanding than waking reality. In sleep, nothing you choose actually matters. In sleep, you're free from consequence. But that's also what makes it meaningless, what makes it less than life. I want to wake up, you say again, more certain this time, or trying to sound more certain. Certainty is hard after an hour of impossible questions. The asker nods. Good, they say, and then you do wake up. Your eyes open. The room is still dark, still quiet. Your mind is racing. The questions echo. You can't remember all of them, but you remember the feeling, the weight, the impossibility. You won't sleep again for a while. You'll lie there thinking about the questions, about your answers, about the asker and their purpose, about why anyone would design a spirit whose job is to make people uncomfortable with their own certainty. But maybe that's the point. Maybe certainty is dangerous. Maybe we all need to be reminded occasionally that most questions don't have clean answers, that moral choice is complicated, that admitting I don't know is sometimes the most honest response. The asker has been doing this for centuries, appearing in dreams across cultures. The specific questions vary, but the function remains constant. They ask what can't be answered. They pose what can't be solved. They make people sit with uncertainty. It's not a popular function. No one likes the asker. No one wants to be visited. But maybe that's why it's necessary. The uncomfortable is usually necessary. The difficult questions, usually the important ones. You'll see the asker again, maybe years from now, maybe decades, when you've regained too much certainty, when you've started answering complex questions too quickly, when you need to be reminded that knowing is hard and not knowing is honest. They'll come, they'll ask, you'll struggle, and then you'll wake up. And hopefully you'll be a little less certain, a little more thoughtful, a little more aware of how complex everything actually is. That's the gift, if you can call it a gift. The asker gives you doubt, gives you questions without answers, gives you the uncomfortable knowledge that most of life exists in that space between clear right and clear wrong. Sleep well, or don't. The asker might visit, might interrogate, might leave you awake and uncertain, but maybe that's okay. Maybe uncertainty is better than false certainty. Maybe questions are better than wrong answers. The asker thinks so, and they've been doing this a lot longer than you've been sleeping. Part 4. The ones who comfort the weaver of soft things. In some Scandinavian traditions, there's a spirit called the dream weaver, not to be confused with the more famous American song or the various fantasy interpretations. This is older, quieter, less dramatic, just a presence that weaves dreams, specifically comfortable dreams, soft dreams, the kind that don't challenge or frighten or probe, just hold you gently until morning. You're sleeping in a cottage somewhere in rural Norway. The winter outside is severe, snow piled high against the walls, wind howling through trees, but inside you're warm, buried under wool blankets and animal furs. The fire in the hearth has burned down to embers but still radiates enough heat to keep the worst of the cold at bay. The dreamweaver arrives as you slip into sleep. You don't notice. That's intentional. Their entire purpose is to be unnoticed, to work quietly, to create comfort without calling attention to the creation. You dream about summer, not any specific summer, just the concept of warmth, sunshine, the feeling of grass under bare feet, the smell of flowers whose names you can't remember but whose scent you know perfectly. It's generic, uncomplicated, safe. This is the Dreamweaver's work. They've taken the harsh edges off your unconscious, smoothed out the anxieties and fears that might have surfaced, wrapped them in softness, in warmth, in the gentle texture of pleasant nothing. Some would call this shallow, meaningless. Dreams should be significant, they'd argue, should mean something, should reflect your inner state or process your experiences or reveal hidden truths. Dreams should work. The Dreamweaver disagrees. Sometimes dreams should just be rest. Sometimes the unconscious needs a break from processing. Sometimes you just need to sleep softly through the night without your brain trying to solve problems or surface traumas or work through complex emotions. Sometimes you just need summer grass and flower scent and warmth. That's enough. That's plenty. The Weaver works through the night. Whenever your dream starts to drift towards something harsh, something difficult, they redirect it. Gently, without force. Just a subtle nudge back toward comfort, back toward soft, back toward rest. You dream about a garden, about a cat sleeping in sunshine, about bread fresh from the oven, about your grandmother's hands, even though your grandmother has been dead for years. But the Weaver removes the grief from that image, leaves only the comfort, only the memory of safety, only the warmth of being small and cared for. This could be seen as manipulation, as denial of reality, as creating false comfort. But the Weaver doesn't see it that way. They're not erasing your grief or your fears or your difficulties, just giving you a night off from carrying them, just offering temporary respite, just weaving something soft to hold you through the dark hours. You'll return to your grief in the morning. Your fears will be there when you wake. The difficulties of your life won't have disappeared. The Weaver knows this. They're not trying to solve anything, just cushion, just comfort. Just provide one night of uncomplicated rest. The work is subtle. Most people never notice. They wake up feeling rested and don't think about why. Don't realize that their dreams were unusually gentle, that someone was working through the night to keep the harsh things at bay. The Dreamweaver doesn't mind the lack of recognition. Recognition would defeat the purpose. The comfort works best when you don't notice it being created. When it feels natural. When you wake up thinking, I slept well without realizing that well was carefully constructed, deliberately woven, maintained through the night by a presence you never knew was there. Not everyone gets visited. The Weaver has to choose. They can't be everywhere, can't soften every dream, can't protect every sleeper from their own unconscious, so they make decisions, based on need maybe. Based on who seems most desperate for a soft night, most worn down by harsh days, most in need of uncomplicated rest. You were chosen tonight. Why? You might not know. Your days don't feel particularly harder than anyone else's. Your life isn't more difficult. You're just tired, just worn, just in need of something gentle. The Weaver saw that, recognized it, decided you deserved a soft night. So they came, they wove, they protected your sleep from anything harsh. In the morning you wake without memory of specific dreams, just a feeling, a sense of having been somewhere pleasant, somewhere safe. The details are gone, but the comfort remains. You feel rested in a way that goes beyond physical sleep. Something in you has been held, cradled, given permission to stop fighting for one night. You don't think about this consciously. You just go about your day. The winter is still severe. The difficulties of your life are still present, but you face them from a place of rest, from a foundation of having been comforted, even if you don't know how or by whom. The Dreamweaver has moved on. They're with someone else now, someone else who needs a soft night, someone else whose dreams require protection from harshness. The work continues. It always continues. Someone is always in need of gentle dreams. This is not dramatic work, not heroic, not the kind of thing that gets celebrated or remembered, but it matters. Soft nights matter. Rest matters. The ability to sleep without fighting your own unconscious matters. The Weaver knows this. They've been doing this work since humans first learned to sleep. Since the first person lay down exhausted and needed their dreams to be gentle, since rest became necessary for survival. They'll return to you eventually, maybe next month, maybe next year. When you need another soft night. When the accumulation of harsh days has worn you down again. When your dreams would be too difficult without intervention. They'll come. They'll weave. They'll protect. And you'll sleep and wake and never know you were comforted. That's fine. That's how it should be. The best comfort is the kind you don't notice. The best care is the kind that feels natural. The best weaving is invisible. The dream weaver is very good at their job. They've had centuries to practice, millennia. They know exactly how to soften without smothering, how to protect without insulting, how to comfort without calling attention to the need for comfort. You sleep, they weave, morning comes, the cycle repeats. Somewhere, someone else is falling asleep. Someone else needs a gentle dream, a soft night, a break from the harsh. The weaver is already there, already working, already creating comfort from the raw material of sleep. You'll never meet them, never thank them, never know their name or their face or their presence. But tonight, you'll sleep well. And that's enough. That's always been enough. That's all the weaver ever wanted. The one who sits with you. There's a spirit in some Middle Eastern folklore that has no name, just a function. They sit with people who are afraid to sleep, not because of nightmares, not because of insomnia, just because of fear, the nameless fear that sometimes comes at night. The fear that sleeping means losing control, that closing your eyes means something bad might happen, that unconsciousness is dangerous. This spirit doesn't fix the fear, doesn't make it go away. They just sit with you, keep you company while you're afraid, stay present until the fear loosens enough for sleep to arrive. You're lying in a room somewhere in ancient Persia. The walls are decorated with intricate patterns, the ceiling is high, the air smells like rosewater and lamp oil. Everything is beautiful, everything is safe, but you're still afraid. You don't know why. There's no logical reason, no external threat, no real danger, just a feeling. A conviction that sleeping right now would be a mistake, that you need to stay awake, stay alert, stay in control. Your heart is racing, your breath is shallow. Your mind is generating reasons for the fear, making up threats to justify the feeling. Maybe there's an intruder, maybe something bad is about to happen. Maybe if you sleep you won't wake up. None of this is true. You know it's not true. But the fear doesn't care about truth. It just exists, insistent, overwhelming. And then quietly the spirit arrives. You don't see them. They're not visible. They're just present. A sense of someone sitting nearby. Not judging, not trying to fix anything. Just there, with you, in the fear. Your breath slows slightly, not because the fear is gone, just because you're not alone in it anymore. The presence makes it bearable, makes it possible to sit with the feeling instead of fighting it. I'm afraid, you think, not to the spirit, just in general, just acknowledging what's true. The spirit doesn't respond, they don't need to, their presence is the response. They're saying, without words, I know, it's okay, I'll sit with you. Minutes pass, many minutes. You're still afraid, but the fear has changed texture. It's still there, but it's not consuming you. It's just a feeling, an uncomfortable feeling. But feelings change, feelings pass. Eventually, the spirit remains, patient, steady. They're not trying to rush you towards sleep, they're just keeping you company, making the fear less lonely, that's all. More time passes, your body begins to relax despite the fear. Exhaustion is a powerful force, stronger than anxiety eventually. Your muscles loosen, your thoughts slow down. The fear is still present but quieter now. Background noise instead of alarm. The spirit shifts slightly. You sense them settling in. Getting comfortable, they're not going anywhere. They'll stay as long as you need them. All night, if necessary. They have nowhere else to be. No other job. Just this. Just sitting with afraid people until sleep arrives. Your eyes close. You don't mean to close them. They just do. Your body's making decisions without consulting your mind. Deciding that it's safe enough. That sleep is worth the risk. That consciousness can be released. You fight it for a moment. The fear surges. Your eyes open again. Your heart races. The spirit remains. Still there. Still present. Still saying, without words, it's okay. I'm here. You try again. Eyes closed. Breathing deep. Letting go incrementally. testing the waters of unconsciousness, dipping your toe in and pulling back, trying again. The spirit doesn't rush you, doesn't encourage or discourage. Just witnesses, just sits, just makes the process less lonely. Eventually it works. Eventually you cross the threshold into sleep. The fear is still there, but you're too tired to care anymore. Your body has overridden your mind, has decided that rest is more important than vigilance, that trust is necessary even when scary. The spirit remains for a while longer, making sure you're fully asleep, making sure the fear hasn't pulled you back. Then satisfied, they stand. They move to the next person, the next room, the next frightened sleeper who needs company. This work is endless. Fear is endless. Every night somewhere someone is afraid to sleep, afraid to let go, afraid to trust the process of unconsciousness. The spirit finds them, sits with them, stays until sleep arrives. They don't cure the fear. That's not the goal. Fear is often reasonable. The world is uncertain. Bad things happen. Sleeping does mean losing control. The fear is responding to real vulnerability. But the spirit's presence makes the vulnerability bearable, makes it possible to sleep despite the fear, to trust despite the uncertainty, to let go despite the risk. That's the gift, not fearlessness, just companionship, just the sense of not being alone in the difficult moment, of someone witnessing your struggle and staying anyway. Not because they can fix it, just because you need someone there. In the morning you wake without memory of the spirit. You just remember being afraid and then, eventually, sleeping. You might feel grateful, you might not. The spirit doesn't need your gratitude, they just needed to sit with you. That was enough. You'll be afraid again, maybe tomorrow night. Maybe next week, maybe next month. The fear comes and goes. That's its nature. When it returns, when it makes sleep feel impossible, the spirit will return too. They always return. For you and for everyone else. For every person lying awake, heart racing, afraid of something they can't name, the spirit finds them, sits with them, waits with them, witnesses them, until sleep comes, until the fear loosens, until the body overrides the mind and rest becomes possible again. It's simple work, unglamorous work, just sitting, just being present, just making fear less lonely. But it's necessary work, important work, the kind that makes the difference between a night of terror and a night of eventual rest. The spirit knows this. They've been doing this forever, since the first human felt afraid in the dark and wished someone was there. Since fear and sleep first came into conflict, since the need for rest ran up against the need for control, the spirit sits. That's all. That's everything. It's enough. It's always been enough. You sleep. The spirit moves on. Morning comes. The fear will return eventually, but so will the spirit. That's the pattern. That's the promise. You're afraid. Someone sits with you. You sleep. It works. It keeps working. Night after night. Person after person. Fear after fear. The spirit sits. The sleeper eventually sleeps. The cycle continues. Forever. Or as long as humans need company in their fear. Which is probably forever. The spirit doesn't mind. Sitting is easy. Presence is simple. The work is endless, but the work is also enough. Someone needs them right now. Someone is afraid. The spirit is already there. Already sitting. Already making fear bearable through simple presence. That's all it takes. That's all it's ever taken. Just someone there. Just someone who stays. The spirit stays. You sleep. Morning comes. Everything continues. Fear and all. Part 5. The Ones Who Remember the Keeper of Lost Dreams. In some indigenous Australian traditions, there's a spirit who collects the dreams that people forget. Not just forget vaguely, the ones that disappear completely the moment you wake, the ones that felt important while you were having them but vanished before you could even try to remember. This spirit keeps them, stores them, maintains a kind of archive of forgotten dreams. No one knows why, maybe for safekeeping, maybe because dreams are sacred even when forgotten, maybe because the spirit simply hates waste. You're sleeping under stars in the outback. The ground beneath you is red earth. The sky above is clearer than you've ever seen, more stars than darkness. The air is still warm from the day, but cooling rapidly. Desert nights are like that. Extremes. No middle ground. You're dreaming something complex, layered, meaningful. The kind of dream that feels like it's trying to tell you something important. There are symbols you should recognize, patterns you should decode, messages buried in the imagery. You're walking through a landscape that shifts as you move. Desert becomes forest, becomes ocean, becomes sky. Your body changes too. Sometimes human, sometimes animal, sometimes both simultaneously. Dream logic. Everything is possible. Nothing is fixed. The keeper of lost dreams walks beside you. You don't notice them. That's normal. People rarely notice the keeper during the dream. They're too busy dreaming, too caught up in the experience to recognize the presence documenting it. The keeper observes everything, the landscape, your transformations, the symbols and patterns and buried messages. They're taking notes in whatever way spirits take notes, preserving, recording, making sure that when you forget this dream it's not actually lost, just relocated, stored somewhere safe. The dream becomes more intense, more vivid. You're standing at the edge of a cliff, below an ocean of stars, not water, stars, liquid light, impossible beauty. You're supposed to jump. You know you're supposed to jump, but you're hesitant, afraid. Even in dreams, falling is frightening. The keeper watches, doesn't intervene, doesn't encourage or discourage, just witnesses, just records. Your choice is your own. The keeper is only here to remember what you won't. You jump. Of course you jump. That's how dreams work. You fall into the ocean of stars. The light swallows you. You dissolve. You become light. You become everything and nothing. The dream reaches its peak, its moment of maximum intensity, the point where meaning condenses into pure feeling, and then you wake up, your eyes open. The stars above are still there. Real stars, not liquid light, just burning balls of gas billions of miles away. Beautiful but ordinary. The dream is gone. You try to remember it. You know you were dreaming. You know it felt important. But the details are already evaporating. Something about walking. Something about changing. Something about falling. But what? Into what? You can't grasp it. The harder you try to remember, the faster it disappears. Within minutes, it's gone completely. Just a vague sense that you had a significant dream. But you can't recall a single image, a single feeling. It's vanished. Except it hasn't. The keeper has it. Every detail, every transformation, every symbol. The entire dream is preserved in whatever archive the keeper maintains. Safe, intact, remembered. You don't know this. You just feel vaguely frustrated by your inability to remember. You make a mental note to try harder tomorrow night, to pay more attention, to hold on to dreams better. This never works. Dreams aren't meant to be held. They're made of forgetting. The keeper knows this. That's why they exist. Because dreams are important even when forgotten. Maybe especially when forgotten. The ones you remember might teach you things consciously. The ones you forget teach you in different ways, deeper ways. Ways that don't require conscious awareness. Or maybe that's generous. Maybe the keeper just collects, just stores, just can't stand the thought of dreams disappearing into nothing. Either way, the result is the same. Your forgotten dream is preserved, kept, held in trust. You'll never retrieve it. The keeper doesn't return dreams to their dreamers. That's not how it works. The archive is one way. Dreams go in, dreams don't come out. They're preserved for their own sake, not for yours. This might seem pointless. What's the value of preserving something no one will ever access again? But maybe that's a limited view. Maybe preservation itself is the point. Maybe keeping something safe is reason enough regardless of future use. The keeper thinks so. They've been collecting forgotten dreams since humans first started dreaming. Since the first person woke with a vague sense of having experienced something important but couldn't recall what. Since the beginning of consciousness and its strange relationship with sleep. The archive is vast, unimaginably vast. Billions of dreams, trillions maybe. Every forgotten dream from every person who ever slept. All preserved, all remembered, all kept safe in whatever non-space the keeper occupies. You go about your day. The dream is completely gone from your conscious mind. But something remains. A residue, a feeling you can't name, a sense that you learned something during the night, even if you don't know what. This is the dream's influence, the forgotten teaching, the lesson that works better when you don't consciously process it. The keeper knows this. They've seen it countless times. Dreams work in mysterious ways. The ones you remember are obvious, blatant. They hit you over the head with meaning, but the ones you forget are subtle. They change you without announcing the change. They teach you without you noticing you're being taught. That's why the keeper preserves them. Not for future access, for present documentation, for the acknowledgement that these forgotten experiences matter, that they shaped you even in their disappearance, that forgetting isn't the same as never having happened. Tonight, you'll dream again. Tomorrow, you'll forget again. The keeper will be there again, collecting, preserving, remembering what you can't. This will continue for your entire life. Every night, every dream. Some you'll remember, most you won't, but all will be kept. All will be preserved in the keeper's archive, your complete dream history, even the parts you never knew you had. There's something comforting about this. The idea that nothing is truly lost, that your forgotten experiences still exist somewhere, that someone, something, remembers even when you don't. Or maybe it's unsettling, the idea that a spirit has access to all your dreams, all your unconscious imagery, all the private, unfiltered content of your sleeping mind. They know things about you that you don't know about yourself. They've seen sides of you that never make it to conscious awareness. The keeper doesn't judge, if that helps. They just collect, just preserve, just remember. What you dream is your business. What they do is simply keep it from disappearing entirely. You'll never meet the keeper, never consciously interact with them, never know the extent of their archive or what they do with it. You'll just dream and forget, and wake with that vague sense of having been somewhere, experienced something, learned something, even if you can't say what. That's enough. That's always been enough. The keeper doesn't need your awareness. They just need your dreams, the forgotten ones, the ones that slip away before you can grasp them. Those belong to the keeper now. You gave them up without knowing, without consenting, without even being aware they were being taken. But taken isn't the right word. Preserved is better. Honoured, maybe. Your forgotten dreams are honoured by being remembered, by being kept safe in the keeper's endless archive. Somewhere in that archive is tonight's dream, the one about walking through shifting landscapes, about transforming, about jumping into an ocean of stars. You don't remember it, but it's there. Complete, intact, forever. The keeper moves on to the next sleeper, the next dreamer who will forget. The work never ends. Dreams are always being forgotten. The keeper is always collecting, always preserving, always remembering what humans can't. It's quiet work, invisible work, the kind that makes no sound and leaves no trace except in the archive itself. But it's important. The keeper believes it's important. That's enough reason to continue. Your forgotten dreams are safe. That's all you need to know, even if you don't know it. Even if you wake every morning frustrated by your inability to remember. They're not lost, just relocated, just kept somewhere else. The keeper has them. The keeper keeps everything. That's their name. That's their function. That's their gift to the sleeping world. You dream. You forget. They remember. The cycle continues. Forever. Or as long as humans dream and forget, which is probably forever. Sleep well. Dream freely. Forget without worry. Someone is keeping track. Someone is preserving. Someone is making sure your forgotten experiences don't vanish into absolute nothing. The keeper is there. The keeper is always there. Collecting, preserving, remembering. Your dreams are safe. Even the ones you'll never recall. Especially those. The one who knows what you dreamed before. There's a spirit in some Slavic traditions that remembers your childhood dreams. All of them. Every dream you had before you turned 10. Before your memory really started working reliably, before you could distinguish dream from reality. When everything was mixed together in that particular way children experience the world, this spirit keeps those dreams. Not like the keeper of lost dreams who preserves all forgotten dreams. This spirit specifically holds your childhood dreams, the ones from before you knew how to remember, the ones that shaped you before you knew you were being shaped. You're sleeping in a small house somewhere in rural Russia. The year doesn't matter. Could be 200 years ago. Could be 50. The spirit has been doing this work across all those years. Time is flexible for spirits. You're dreaming about something from your current life, work maybe, or relationships, or the endless minor anxieties that fill adult dreams, bills, responsibilities, the weight of knowing too much about how the world actually works. The spirit arrives at the edge of your dream. They're holding something, a collection, a bundle, your childhood dreams, all of them, every image, every feeling, every impossible story your child mind created before you learned to think critically. They don't show you these dreams, not directly. You're not ready. You'd probably reject them. They'd seem silly, childish, embarrassing. The adult mind is very good at dismissing what the child mind knew. But the spirit references them, uses them, draws on them to inform your current dream. Suddenly your work anxiety transforms, becomes a dragon you have to negotiate with. The dragon has the face of your boss, but also the face of the monster from your nightmare when you were 7. The one that lived in your closet, the one that was very real to you at the time. You don't recognize the reference, you've forgotten that dream, forgotten that monster, but your unconscious remembers, recognizes the pattern, responds to it. The spirit is connecting your present to your past, showing you that the fears you have now are related to the fears you had then. The dragon boss isn't new, it's the same fear wearing a different costume, the same anxiety you've been carrying since childhood, just dressed up in adult concerns. This is the spirit's gift, not to remind you consciously, not to make you analyze your childhood dreams, just to maintain the connection, to keep the thread intact between who you were and who you are. Between the child who dreamed and the adult who forgot they ever dreamed that way. Your dream shifts again. Now you're flying. But it's not free flying. You're struggling, working too hard. Flying has become labor instead of joy. You don't remember that you used to dream about flying effortlessly, when you were 6, when you were 8. When flying dreams were about freedom, not effort. The spirit remembers. They're holding that memory, that dream, that version of you who knew how to fly without struggling. They're placing it next to your current flying dream, not to replace it, just to show the contrast, just to remind your unconscious that flying used to be different, used to be easier. You might wake with a feeling, a sense that you've lost something, that you used to know how to do something you've forgotten. You won't connect it to flying dreams, you won't trace it back to childhood, but the feeling will be there, a quiet mourning for something you can't name. That's the spirit's work, creating these quiet connections, these unnamed recognitions, keeping your childhood dreams active in your adult unconscious, even though your conscious mind has dismissed them entirely. Some therapists would call this important, would say that childhood dreams are foundational, that they establish patterns and fears and desires that echo through your entire life. The spirit doesn't know about therapy. They just know that the dreams matter, that forgetting them completely would be a kind of self-amputation, a severing of roots. So they keep them, hold them, reference them in your current dreams, maintain the connection across decades, make sure the child you are still has a voice in the adult you've become. You don't thank them for this. You don't know they're doing it. You just dream your adult dreams, occasionally noticing strange elements that feel both foreign and familiar, monsters that seem too vivid. Flying that carries emotional weight you don't understand, landscapes that feel like home even though you've never been there. These are echoes, references, connections to dreams you had 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when you were small and the world was new and dreaming was as real as waking. The spirit knows those dreams better than you do, better than you ever did, really. Children don't analyze dreams, don't remember them systematically, don't think about what they mean. They just dream and wake and move on. The dreams disappear into the past, except they don't. The spirit has them, every single one. That nightmare about the dark water, that happy dream about talking animals, that confusing dream about your parents turning into trees, that terrifying dream about being lost in a familiar place, that comforting dream about flying into the sun. All of them, preserved, held, ready to be referenced when your adult dreams need grounding in your childhood experience. This goes on for your entire life. The spirit never stops holding your childhood dreams, never releases them, never lets them fully fade. They're your foundation, your root system, the soil from which your adult consciousness grows. Without them, you'd be untethered. cut off from your own history. The spirit knows this. They've seen what happens when the connection is completely severed. When adult dreams have no reference to childhood dreams, the result is a kind of flatness, a loss of depth. Dreams become shallow, obvious, disconnected from the deeper patterns of the self. The spirit prevents this by holding, by remembering, by maintaining the connection across time. By making sure the child you are still speaks to the adult you are, even if only in dreams, even if only in ways you don't consciously notice. You'll never know the extent of this work, never know how many of your dreams are secretly referencing dreams from when you were 5, never know how much of your adult unconscious is still shaped by your childhood sleeping mind. The spirit keeps this knowledge, keeps it safe, uses it wisely, connects past to present without announcement, without credit, without need for recognition. They've been doing this since you first started dreaming, since you were an infant really, before you had language, before you could form coherent memories. The spirit was there, collecting, preserving, building the archive that would later inform your adult dream life. They'll continue until you stop dreaming, until you stop sleeping, until your consciousness ends. Then they'll hold your childhood dreams a while longer, just in case, just to honour what was, just because letting them go feels wrong, even though you're gone. Eventually they'll release them. Your childhood dreams will fade back into whatever dreams are made of, return to the collective unconscious, or dissolved into nothing. The spirit isn't sure what happens. They just know when it's time to let go, but that's far in the future. For now, they hold, they remember, they connect your present to your past through the strange language of dreams. You sleep, you dream, you wake without knowing that your childhood self was present in your adult dream, that the monster you feared at 7 stood behind the anxiety you feel at 40, that the joy you experienced in flight at 6 is still trying to teach you something at 50. The spirit knows. The spirit always knows. That's their job, their gift, their burden, remembering what you dreamed before you knew how to remember, before memory itself made sense. Those dreams are safe, held by the spirit who specializes in childhood, who honors the dreaming child in every adult, who maintains the connection across decades of living and forgetting. Sleep well, dream freely. Your childhood dreams are still here, still active, still shaping your sleep, even if you have no idea. Even if you wake every morning thinking you've left childhood behind entirely, you haven't. Not in dreams, never in dreams. The child you are still dreams through you, still fears and flies and transforms through you. The spirit makes sure of it. That's the gift, the connection, the maintained relationship between past and present, between child and adult, between who you were and who you became. The spirit holds it all, remembers it all, references it all, forever, or as long as you dream, which might be forever, in a way. Dreams don't die when the dreamer does. They just change hands, change keepers, change forms. Your childhood dreams will outlive you. The spirit will make sure of that, will hold them even after you're gone, will honour them even when you can't. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. You dream. The spirit remembers. The connection persists across time, across age, across the entire journey from childhood to whatever comes after. Sleep. Dream. Let the child you were speak through. The adult you are. Let the spirit do their work. Let the connection remain intact. That's all you need to do. Just sleep. Just dream. The spirit will handle the rest. Part 6. The ones who warn the dream messenger of small disasters. In some Central American traditions, there's a spirit that appears in dreams to warn people about minor catastrophes, not major ones, not earthquakes or floods or wars, just small disasters, personal ones, the kind that disrupt your day but don't destroy your life. This spirit shows you images, symbols, warnings encoded in dream language. A broken cup means you'll spill something tomorrow. A bird flying into a window means you'll have an awkward collision with someone. A clock running backward means you'll be late for something important. The warnings are never clear, never literal, always symbolic. The spirit doesn't believe in straightforward communication. Or maybe they can't do straightforward. Maybe dream language is the only language they speak. You're sleeping somewhere in Guatemala. The room is simple, a hammock instead of a bed. The air is humid. The sound of insects outside is constant. White noise, natural static. You're dreaming about walking through a market. Everything seems normal. You're shopping, looking at vegetables, talking to vendors, a regular dream about regular activities. Then you see it, a basket of eggs. And as you watch, one cracks, then another, then all of them. Shells breaking, yolks spilling. The vendor doesn't seem to notice. No one notices, just you, watching all these eggs break simultaneously. The dream messenger is somewhere nearby. You can't see them, but you know they're there. You know this broken egg image is theirs, a message, a warning, but of what? You wake up troubled. The dream clings to you in that way significant dreams do. The broken eggs keep playing in your mind. What do they mean? What are you supposed to understand? Throughout the day, you're careful. You handle your own eggs gently. You avoid situations that might involve breakage. You're vigilant, watchful, waiting for the disaster the dream predicted. Nothing happens, at least not with eggs. But in the afternoon, you have a conversation with a friend, and it goes badly, worse than badly. You say something thoughtless. The friendship cracks, not broken entirely, not destroyed, just damaged, cracked, like eggs. The dream messenger was warning you about this, about the potential for this conversation to go wrong. Did they show you eggs to give you a chance to prevent it? Or just to prepare you? You don't know. The dream didn't come with instructions. That's the frustrating thing about dream messengers. They warn but don't explain. They show but don't teach. They give you information but expect you to decode it yourself. And by the time you understand the warning, it's usually too late. The small disaster has already happened. The messenger doesn't apologize for this, doesn't feel bad about the inadequacy of their warnings. They're doing their job, delivering messages. What you do with those messages is your business. They've been doing this for centuries, showing people symbols, giving warnings, watching those warnings be misunderstood or ignored or decoded too late. The success rate is low, but the messenger persists, because occasionally someone understands, someone decodes correctly, someone prevents the small disaster. Those occasions are rare, but they're enough. Enough to justify the continued work, enough to make the messenger feel their job matters. You'll see the messenger again, next week, next month. Whenever another small disaster looms in your near future, they'll appear in your dream, show you something symbolic, something unclear, something that might help if you can figure out what it means. You probably won't figure it out in time, most people don't, but you'll try. That's all the messenger asks, that you pay attention, that you consider the possibility that your dreams are trying to tell you something, that you treat the symbols with respect even if you can't decode them. The messenger moves on. They have others to warn, other small disasters to predict, other symbolic images to plant in other dreams. The work is endless. Small disasters happen constantly, every day, every hour. Someone is always about to spill something, break something, say something regrettable, miss something important. The messenger tries to warn them all, succeeds rarely, but tries. That's the job, that's the function. Delivering messages that probably won't be understood in time, but might be. Maybe, if the dreamer is perceptive enough, lucky enough, attentive enough. You go to bed tonight still thinking about the broken eggs, about the cracked friendship, about whether you could have prevented it if you'd understood the dream better, if you'd been more careful, more thoughtful, more aware. The messenger is already preparing your next warning. Something is coming, another small disaster. Another opportunity to misunderstand a symbolic image, another chance to either prevent or simply experience whatever minor catastrophe is heading your way. The dream will come. You'll wake troubled. You'll try to interpret. You'll probably get it wrong. The disaster will happen anyway. Small, manageable, just a crack in the day's smooth surface. That's life. That's what the messenger knows. Life is full of small disasters, constant little breakages and collisions and mishaps. The messenger can't prevent them all, can't even warn about them all, can only show symbols to sleeping people and hope those people understand. They usually don't. But hope persists, across centuries, across countless warnings, across millions of decoded and misunderstood dream symbols. The messenger keeps working, keeps warning, keeps planting symbolic images in the dreams of people about to experience small disasters. Because occasionally, someone understands, someone prevents, someone takes the warning seriously and acts on it and avoids the crack, the spill, the regrettable word, the missed opportunity. Those occasions are rare, but they matter. They justify everything, all the misunderstood warnings, all the too late decodings, all the symbolic images that help no one. One success makes up for 1,000 failures. The messenger believes this, has to believe this. Otherwise, the work would be unbearable. You sleep. The messenger plants the next symbol. You wake. You puzzle. The disaster approaches. Small, inevitable, slightly softened by forewarning, even if you didn't understand the forewarning until after. That's something. That's all the messenger can offer. A slight softening. A moment of recognition after the fact. The thought, oh, that's what the dream meant. Better than nothing. Barely, but better. The messenger continues. Forever. Or as long as humans dream and experience small disasters, which is probably forever. The one who shows you. Roads not taken. In some European traditions, particularly Germanic ones, there's a spirit that shows you alternate paths. Not in a mystical way, not possible futures or parallel universes, just the practical alternatives. The job you didn't take, the person you didn't marry, the city you didn't move to, the choice you almost made but didn't. The spirit isn't judging your choices, isn't suggesting you chose wrong, just showing you what the other option looked like. What would have happened if you'd turned left instead of right? Not to make you regret, just to make you aware you're sleeping in a bed somewhere in modern Germany. The year is recent. The room is ordinary. Nothing special about the setting. Just a person sleeping. Just a dream beginning. You're walking down a street you recognize. Your street. Your neighborhood. Everything is familiar. Except it's slightly wrong. The details are off. The colors are different. The sounds don't match. This is your life, but not quite. The spirit walks beside you. You can see them this time. They appear as an older version of yourself. Or maybe a different version. Same face. Different expression. Different posture. Different energy. This is you if you'd chosen differently at some crucial moment. Do you recognize this? They ask. They have your voice. But not quite. A slight accent you don't have. An inflection you never developed. You look around. You do recognize it. This is where you would have lived if you'd taken that job offer 15 years ago. The one you turned down. The one you almost accepted but didn't. This is that life. The road not taken. Why are you showing me this, you ask? The spirit shrugs. You'll shrug, but perform differently. Why not? You wonder about it sometimes. I thought you'd like to see. This is generous, or cruel. You're not sure which. You do wonder. Everyone wonders. What if I'd chosen differently? What if I'd said yes instead of no? What kind of life would I have now? You walk through this alternate neighborhood, past alternate shops, alternate neighbors. This is detailed, specific, not just a vague alternate reality, a fully realized different path. Complete with all its small textures and minor realities. Is it better, you ask? You have to ask. Even though you know the question is unanswerable, even though better is subjective, incomparable, meaningless across different lives. Is anything better? The spirit responds. Which is not an answer, which is maybe the only answer. You see your alternate apartment. You don't go inside, just look at it from the street. The windows glow with warm light. Someone is inside. Alternate you, living their alternate life, making dinner, listening to music, existing in the reality you didn't choose. Do they know about me, you ask? Meaning, does that version of me know about this version? Do they wonder about the road they didn't take? Of course, the spirit says. Everyone wonders. Every path not taken is a life not lived. Everyone carries those unlived lives. This should be comforting. The idea that your alternate selves carry you the same way you carry them. That the wondering goes both ways. That everyone exists in states of mutual haunting across the branching paths of choice. But it's not comforting. It's overwhelming. The weight of all those unlived lives, all those unchosen paths, all those alternate versions existing in potential, in imagination, in the dreams where spirits show them to you. I should go back, you say. You can't go back, the spirit points out. You're here. You were always here. That's the nature of choice. You can look at other paths, but you can only walk one. Then why show me? Because looking matters. Because knowing what you didn't choose is part of knowing what you did choose. Because the unlived life gives shape to the lived one. This is philosophy. dream philosophy, the kind that seems profound at midnight and questionable at noon. But you're dreaming, so it feels true. Everything feels true in dreams. The spirit begins to fade. The alternate neighborhood fades with them. You're left standing in darkness, just you, just the weight of having seen a life you didn't live. You wake up heavy. The dream stays with you all morning. You think about that job you didn't take, that city you didn't move to, that version of yourself you didn't become. Not with regret, exactly, just awareness, heaviness. The spirit has moved on. They're showing someone else their unlived life, their alternate path, their road not taken. The work continues. Everyone has unchosen paths. Everyone carries unlived lives. The spirit makes sure people see them occasionally. Make sure the awareness doesn't fade completely. Why? Maybe they're right. Maybe looking at what you didn't choose does give shape to what you did. Maybe the unlived life is necessary context for the lived one. Or maybe the spirit just thinks people should know, should see, should carry the weight of their own choices consciously instead of burying it in the unconscious. You'll see the spirit again, in 10 years, 20, whenever you make another significant choice, whenever a path branches significantly. They'll show up in your dreams, show you the other option, the alternate reality, the life you might have lived. You'll wake heavy every time, aware of what you didn't choose, unable to unknow it, carrying the weight of alternatives alongside the reality you're living. That's the warning maybe, not a warning against danger. A warning about weight, about the burden of choice, about the fact that every decision creates a ghost life, an alternate self, a road not taken that still exists somewhere, in potential, in dreams, in the space the spirit occupies. You can't avoid this, can't refuse the showing. The spirit decides when you need to see, when the unlived life needs to be acknowledged, when the weight needs to be felt. Most people resist this, don't want to see what they didn't choose, don't want to carry the weight of alternate selves, but the spirit insists, shows them anyway, makes them look at the roads they didn't take, because ignorance isn't better. The unlived lives exist whether you acknowledge them or not. Better to see them, to know them, to carry them consciously, to let them inform your understanding of the life you actually chose. That's the spirit's belief. Whether it's correct is debatable, but it's what drives the work, what makes the spirit keep showing people their alternate paths, their unlived lives, their roads not taken. You live with it, the awareness, the weight, the knowledge that you could have been someone else, somewhere else, living a completely different life, and that alternate you is just as real, in some sense, as the actual you. Both exist, both matter, both deserve recognition. The spirit makes sure you recognize, makes sure you know, makes sure you carry the full weight of your own choices. It's heavy. It's always heavy. But maybe the spirit is right. Maybe it's necessary. Maybe knowing what you didn't choose is the only way to fully understand what you did. Or maybe it's just one more burden in a life already full of them. One more weight to carry, one more ghost to house. The spirit doesn't apologize, they just show and leave and move on to the next person, the next unchosen path, the next alternate life that needs witnessing. Sleep well, if you can, knowing that every choice you've made has created a ghost life, an alternate self, a road not taken that still exists in dreams, in potential, in the space between what is and what might have been. The spirit makes sure you know, makes sure you see, makes sure you carry it all. That's the warning, that's the gift, that's the weight. Choose wisely, or don't. Either way, you'll carry the alternatives. Either way, the spirit will show you. Either way, you'll wake heavy with the weight of unlived lives. Part 7. The ones who play the trickster of sleep. In many traditions across the world, there's a trickster figure who messes with sleep, not maliciously, not harmfully, just playfully, rearranging dreams, mixing up images, creating nonsense for the pure joy of nonsense. This spirit isn't trying to teach you anything, isn't warning you, isn't protecting you, just playing, having fun, making sleep weird for the sake of weirdness. You're sleeping soundly, deeply, the kind of sleep where you're barely aware you exist, and then the trickster arrives. Your dream was about work, something boring, something mundane, a meeting, paperwork, the usual texture of employment. The trickster looks at this and thinks, boring, let's fix it. Suddenly everyone in the meeting is a penguin, wearing business suits, taking notes with flippers, discussing quarterly reports while waddling around a conference table made of ice. You accept this completely. Dream logic. Everything makes sense until you wake up. The trickster giggles. Or whatever tricksters do. They're pleased with this small chaos, this injection of absurdity into an otherwise dull dream, but they're not done. Now the ice conference table starts melting. The penguins are concerned. They're getting their suits wet. One penguin suggests moving the meeting to the ocean. This seems reasonable. Everyone agrees. You're now having a quarterly review meeting underwater, still in business suits, still very serious. The penguins produce waterproof charts. The trickster is delighted. This is exactly the kind of meaningless absurdity they live for. Dreams don't have to make sense. Dreams don't have to mean anything. Sometimes dreams can just be ridiculous. That's valid too. Your dream continues. The meeting ends. You swim back to the surface. But when you emerge, you're not in an ocean. You're in a bathtub. A giant bathtub, the size of a lake. Your grandmother is there. She's disappointed in you for some reason. Something about vegetables, you forgot to eat vegetables, or maybe you are vegetables. The dream is unclear. The trickster has lost the plot entirely. They're just throwing random elements together now. Grandmother, vegetables, giant bathtub. None of it connects. None of it matters. It's just chaos. Beautiful, purposeless chaos. Some dream analysts would try to interpret this, would say the penguins represent emotional distance, the melting ice represents anxiety, the grandmother represents unresolved childhood issues, the vegetables represent health concerns or guilt. The trickster would laugh at this. Sometimes penguins are just penguins. Sometimes dreams are just the trickster having fun. Not everything is a symbol. Not everything means something. Sometimes it's just play. You wake up confused. The dream made no sense. You can't even figure out what to be troubled by. Penguins, bathtubs, disappointed grandmothers. There's no coherent thread, no clear message, just absurdity. That's the trickster's gift. Relief from meaning, from the constant pressure to interpret and understand and learn from everything. Sometimes a dream can just be weird, can just be fun, can just be a mess of images thrown together because the trickster was bored and decided to play with your sleep. You won't remember this dream clearly. It's too chaotic, too nonsensical. The details will fade quickly. By lunchtime, you'll have forgotten the penguins entirely. Just a vague memory of something strange, something that made no sense. The trickster doesn't mind. They're not looking for recognition, not trying to leave a lasting impression, just playing, just having a moment of fun with your unconscious, just reminding you, in their way, that not everything has to be serious, not everything has to matter. Sometimes things can just be silly. This is actually important. In a world where every dream is supposedly significant, where every symbol needs interpreting, where sleep itself has become medicalized and optimized and turned into work, the trickster offers something different. They offer permission to have meaningless dreams, purposeless sleep, rest that doesn't accomplish anything except rest. That's radical in its way. Uselessness as a value, meaninglessness as relief, chaos as a gift. The trickster will visit you again, maybe tonight, maybe next month. Whenever your dreams get too serious, too meaningful, too heavy with symbolism and significance, they'll arrive with their chaotic energy and mess everything up, fill your sleep with nonsense, with absurdity, with penguins in business suits having meetings underwater, and you'll wake up confused, unable to extract meaning, unable to learn a lesson, just slightly bemused by the strangeness of your own unconscious. That's enough. That's the point. Not every sleep needs to be productive. Not every dream needs to teach. Sometimes it's okay to just be weird, to just be silly, to just be human consciousness playing with itself for no reason. The trickster knows this, has always known this. They're the oldest kind of spirit, present in almost every culture. The figure who reminds us that seriousness isn't everything, that meaning isn't mandatory, that sometimes the best thing you can do is just mess around. Just play. Just create chaos for the joy of creation. Your grandmother in a giant bathtub being disappointed about vegetables serves no purpose, teaches no lesson, reflects no deep psychological truth. It's just funny, just weird, just the trickster having fun with the raw material of your sleeping mind. That's valid, that's important, that's necessary even, especially now, especially in an age where everything is supposed to optimize you, improve you, make you better, more productive, more aware, more conscious. Sometimes you just need to dream about penguins, and that's fine. That's good even. That's the trickster's gift. The permission to be meaningless, the freedom to be absurd. The reminder that not everything has to matter. Sleep well. Dream weird. Wake confused. That's enough. That's always been enough. The trickster will make sure of it. The spirit who hides important things. In some Asian folklore, there's a spirit who hides things in your dreams. Not maliciously, just playfully. Keys, answers, solutions. The thing you need is right there in the dream, but the spirit has hidden it, placed it just out of reach, just beyond your ability to grasp. You wake frustrated. You almost had it. Almost figured it out. Almost saw the solution, but it slipped away, got hidden, buried under other dream images, lost in the chaos of sleeping thought. The spirit finds this hilarious. They're not being cruel, they're playing a game. Hide and seek with your own insights. The thing you need is there. You just can't find it. Yet. Maybe never. That's part of the fun. You're sleeping in a room in Japan or Korea or China. The location varies. The spirit operates across cultures. Wherever people dream, wherever solutions hide in sleep, the spirit is there, hiding things. You're dreaming about a problem you've been trying to solve, a work issue, or a relationship question, or a creative block, something you've been wrestling with during waking hours. Your unconscious is working on it, trying to process, trying to find an answer, and then you see it. The solution, right there, clear as day, obvious, perfect. You reach for it, try to grab it, try to hold it long enough to remember when you wake, but the spirit intervenes, playfully, teasingly. They tuck the solution behind something else, a different image, a distraction. Suddenly you're not looking at the answer anymore, you're looking at a butterfly or a doorknob or your second grade teacher, something random, something that makes you forget what you were reaching for. You try to get back to the solution, try to remember what you just saw, but it's gone, hidden. The spirit has buried it under layers of other dream content. You can feel it nearby, just out of reach, but you can't access it. This continues throughout the dream. You catch glimpses of the answer, moments of clarity, flashes of insight. But every time you try to grasp them, the spirit hides them again, tucks them away, replaces them with something irrelevant. It's frustrating, maddening even. You can sense that you know the answer, that your unconscious has figured it out, but you can't consciously access it. Can't bring it back to waking life. The spirit won't allow it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You wake up irritated, that feeling of having almost known something important, of having been so close. But it's gone now. Completely. You can't remember what the answer was. Can't even remember what the question was, really. Just a vague frustration, a sense of loss. The spirit is pleased. The game went well. They successfully hid what you needed, kept it just beyond your grasp, maintained the mystery, the frustration, the almost knowing that makes you keep searching. Why do this? Why hide people's insights from them? The spirit would say they're not hiding, they're protecting. Not everything should be easily accessible. Not every answer should come quickly. Some things need to stay hidden until you're ready, until you've worked hard enough. Until you've earned the revelation, or maybe they're just playing, just having fun, just enjoying the power to show and hide, to give and withhold, to dangle solutions just out of reach and watch people stretch for them. Either motivation is valid, either way the result is the same. You almost know, but you don't quite know. The answer is there, but also not there, hidden in plain sight, buried in your own dream, inaccessible despite being yours. The spirit moves on. They have others to play with, other insights to hide, other solutions to tuck away just before the dreamer can grasp them. The work is endless. Everyone dreams. Everyone seeks answers in sleep. The spirit makes sure those answers stay elusive, stay hidden, stay just beyond reach, until they don't, until the spirit decides you've tried hard enough, searched long enough. Earn the right to find what's been hidden. Then, maybe, they let you see. Let you remember. Let you wake with the solution intact. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they keep it hidden forever. Maybe that particular insight was never meant to be consciously accessed. Maybe it works better in the unconscious, where it influences without being known, where it shapes without being seen. The spirit knows things you don't know about knowing, about consciousness, about what should be accessible and what should remain hidden. They've been doing this for centuries. They understand the ecology of insight better than you do. Trust them, or don't. Either way, they'll keep hiding things, keep playing their game, keep making sure that some answers stay elusive, some solutions inaccessible, some insights just beyond the reach of conscious thought. It's frustrating, but maybe it's necessary. Maybe the frustration itself is valuable. Maybe almost knowing is more productive than knowing. Maybe the search matters more than the finding. The spirit thinks so. They've built their entire existence around this principle, that hiding is a form of teaching, that inaccessibility is a kind of gift, that what you almost grasp but can't quite hold is more powerful than what you easily possess. You'll dream again tonight. The spirit will probably be there, hiding something else, tucking away another insight, making sure you wake frustrated, almost knowing, reaching for something you can't quite touch. That's the game. That's the gift. That's the spirit's way of playing with sleep, of making dreams both revealing and concealing, of showing you everything while letting you grasp nothing. Sleep well. Dream clearly. Wake frustrated. That's the pattern. That's how it works when the hiding spirit visits. And they visit often. They visit almost everyone. Anyone who seeks answers in dreams. Anyone who hopes their unconscious will solve what their conscious mind cannot. The spirit is there, showing and hiding, revealing and concealing, playing their endless game with human insight. Maybe someday you'll catch what they're hiding. Maybe someday they'll let you. Maybe someday the game will end and the answer will be yours to keep. Or maybe not. Maybe the game is the point. Maybe the almost knowing is the goal. Maybe the spirit will keep hiding forever because hidden things have their own power, their own purpose, their own way of working. You'll never know for sure. That's part of the game too. The not knowing, the uncertainty. The sense that something important is just out of reach and always will be. The spirit ensures it. That's their job. That's their play. That's their gift to the sleeping world. Hide and seek, forever, with yourself, in your own dreams. That's the game the spirit plays, and you can't stop playing, can't opt out, can't refuse. You just sleep, and dream, and almost know, and wake frustrated, and try again tomorrow. The spirit will be there, hiding something new, playing the same old game, making sure that sleep remains mysterious, that dreams stay elusive, that insights hide in plain sight, forever just beyond your reach. Part 8. The ones who witness ending. Morning returns. You wake up. Morning has arrived. The sun is coming through your window. Your body aches slightly. Your mind is foggy. You don't remember most of what you dreamed. Just fragments, feelings, the residue of sleep. The spirits are gone, or elsewhere, or never were, depending on your perspective. They've returned to wherever spirits go between sleep and sleep, between night and night, between one person's rest and another's. You don't think about them, don't remember them, don't know they were there. You just slept, just dreamed, just rested like you always do, like humans have always done. But they were there, all of them, in various ways at various moments, watching, guiding, playing, protecting, witnessing, collecting, preparing, waiting, doing their small tasks in the vast landscape of human sleep. You stretch, get up, begin your day. The spirits fade from possibility into mythology, into story, into the forgotten legends of sleep that cultures once told but mostly don't anymore. Replaced by science, by neurology, by chemical explanations and mechanical understandings, but maybe they're still there. Maybe science explains the how and spirits explain the who. Maybe both can be true simultaneously. Maybe consciousness is complex enough to accommodate multiple explanations, multiple truths, multiple ways of understanding why we sleep and what happens in the dark. Tonight, you'll sleep again. The spirits will return, or were never gone. They'll do their work. They're watching and guiding and playing and protecting, and you'll wake again, unchanged, unaware, continuing the cycle that has continued since humans first closed their eyes and discovered the strange country of sleep. The spirits will be there. They're always there, forgotten but active, invisible but present. doing their small work in the vast darkness of human rest. Sleep well tonight, and tomorrow night, and all.